They were silent. "Let me have another cigarette, Yank," Tasso said. "They are good. I almost forgot how they were." It was night. The sky was black. No stars were visible through the rolling clouds of ash. Klaus lifted the lid cautiously so that Hendricks could look out. Rudy pointed into the darkness. "Over that way are the bunkers where we used to be. Not over half a mile from us. It was just chance that Klaus and I were not there when it happened. Weakness, saved by our lusts. All the rest must be dead," Klaus said in a low voice. "It came quickly. This morning, the Politburo reached their decision. They notified us. Forward command. Our runner was sent out at once. We saw him stare towards the direction of your lines. We covered him until he was out of sight. Alex Ratrevsky, we both knew him. He disappeared about 6 o'clock. The sun had just come up. About noon, Klaus and I had an hour relief. We crept off away from the bunkers. No one was watching. We came here. This used to be a town here. A few houses, a street. This cellar was part of a big farmhouse. We knew Tasso would be here, hiding down in her little place. We had come here before. Others from the bunkers came here. Today happened to be our turn. So we were saved, Klaus said. Chance. It might have been others. We finished. And then we came up to the surface and started back along the ridge. That was when we saw them, the Davids. We understood right away. We had seen the photos of the first variety, the wounded soldier. Our commissar distributed them to us with an explanation. If we had gone another step, they would have seen us. As it was, we had to blast 2 Davids before we got back. There were hundreds of them, all around, like ants. We took pictures and slipped back here, bolting the lid tight. They're not so much when you catch them alone, and we blasted them. Major Hendricks rested against the edge of the lid, adjusting his eyes to the darkness. Is it safe to have the lid up at all? If we're careful. How else can you operate your transmitter? Hendricks lifted the small belt transmitter slowly. He pressed it against his ear. The metal was cold and damp. He blew against the mic, raising up the short antenna. A faint hum sounded in his ear. That's true, I suppose. but he still hesitated. "We'll pull you under if anything happens," Klaus said. "Thanks." Hendricks waited a moment, resting the transmitter against his shoulder. Interesting, isn't it? What? This? The new types? The new varieties of claws? We're completely at their mercy, aren't we? By now, they've probably gotten into the UN lines too. It makes me wonder if we're not seeing the beginning of a new species. The new species. Evolution. The race to come after man. There's no race after man. No? Why not? Maybe we're seeing it now. The end of human beings. The beginning of a new society. They're not a race. They're mechanical killers. You made them to destroy. That's all they can do. They're machines with a job. So it seems now, but how about later on, after the war is over? Maybe when there aren't any humans to destroy, their real potentialities will begin to show. You talk as if they were alive, aren't they? There was silence. They're machines, Rudy said. They look like people, but they're machines. Use your transmitter, Major, Klaus said. We can't stay up here forever. Holding the transmitter tightly, Hendricks called the code of the command bunker. He waited, listening. No response, only silence. He checked the leads carefully. Everything was in place. "Scott," he said into the mic, "can you hear me?" Silence. He raised the gain up full and tried again. Only static. "I don't get anything. They may hear me, but they may not want to answer." "Tell them it's an emergency." "They'll think I'm being forced to call, under your direction." He tried again, outlining briefly what he had learned. But still the phone was silent, except for the faint static. "Radiation was kill most transmission," Klaus said after a while. "Maybe that's it." Hendricks shut the transmitter up. No use, no answer. Radiation pools? Maybe. Or they hear me but won't answer. The Soviet lines. They have no reason to believe such a story. They may hear everything I say. Or maybe it's too late. Hendricks nodded. "We better get the lid down," Rudy said nervously. "We don't want to take unnecessary chances." They climbed slowly back down the tunnel. Klaus bolted the lid carefully into place. They descended into the kitchen. The air was heavy and close around them. "Could they work that fast?" Hendricks said. "I left the bunker this noon, 10 hours ago. How could they move so quickly?" "It doesn't take long, not after the first one gets in. It goes wild. You know what the little claws can do. Even one of these is beyond belief. Razors, edge fingers, maniacal." "All right. Hendricks moved away impatiently. He stood with his back to them. What's his name? The moon base. God, if they've gotten there. The moon base? Hendricks turned around. They couldn't have got to the moon base. How would they get there? It isn't possible. I can't believe it. What's this moon base? We've heard rumors, but nothing definite. What is the actual situation? You seem concerned. We're supplied for the moon. The government are there, under the lunar surface. All our people and industries. That's what keeps us going. If they should find some way of getting off Terra onto the moon, it only takes one of them. Once the first one gets in, it admits the others. Hundreds of them. All alike. You should have seen them. Identical, like ants. Perfect socialism, Tasso said. The idea of the communist state. All citizens interchangeable.